Welcome to the Cardigan Empire Body Type series, and we're going to make sure that you know your body type and how to dress it to its fullest potential. But before we get started, we need to take some measurements. Now put away your hyperventilation bag, because these are just measurements that tell us the circumference of our bust, our waist, and our hip. It doesn't tell us how smart, how kind, or how important we are. So we're just going to take these unimpassioned numbers and lead to total fashion empowerment. To get started, we're going to need some soft measuring tape, and you'll need to disrobe into your dainties. You might want to enlist a friend of an intimate nature, either a sister or a mother, a boyfriend or a husband. All of these things would work, but we need to make sure that we get accurate measurements, so have on a properly fitting bra and pair of panties. We're going to take the tape across the fullest part of the bust, wrap it around, and write down our first measurement. Every time we take a measurement, we want to make sure that the measure tape is parallel to the ground. You don't want it writing up or writing down anywhere. You're going to get an inaccurate measurement. Next, somewhere in the vicinity of your navel, you're going to have a waist measurement. Now, our dress form doesn't have a navel, but I can see the natural curvature of her torso here. We can bring the measure tape right around there. And we want to make sure the measure tape is taut, but not too tight. You should be able to fit a small finger in there and get that measurement. If you're having a difficult time finding your own waist measurement, because we want to make sure we get that spot on, even a quarter inch above or below is actually going to make a pretty big difference. You can wiggle back and forth as you slide your hands down your torso, and your hands should eventually settle into the narrowest part of your waist. Finally, we're going to get our hip measurement, and we need to encompass the largest part of your bottom and the curvature of your hip. And we're going to write down that final measurement, and after we've got all three of those, we can move on into our simple math. We're going to take that bust measurement you wrote down and divide it by your waist measurement. Then we're going to take your hip measurement and divide it by the waist measurement as well. We could stop there, but because everybody doesn't fit into a stereotypical categorical box, we like to have a backup plan. We like to have two pieces of information to confirm or deny our hypotheses. So we're going to take our waist measurement and divide it by our bust, and take our waist measurement again and divide it by our hip. So now you should have 4 ratios or numbers that you have written down in addition to your 3 measurements. And from there, we're going to diagnose your body type. Going through our body types, let's start at the top with an upper figure. If you feel like you're curvier on the top and you have a really hard time wearing button-up blouses, they're always gaping, it seems like they've got opposed magnets on those buttons, then this is something you're going to want to pay attention to. First of all, when you look at your ratios, on your bust to waist measurement, it's going to show you that your bust is 125% of more than your waist, so it's going to be 1.25 or greater. You're also going to show that your waist is 75% or less than your bust, so it's going to be 0.75 or less. And if both of the numbers don't support your hypotheses, but you have the experience and one of the numbers is telling you that, go for it. Some of the example body types that we could look to are Jessica Simpson and Audrina Partridge from The Hills. Next, we're going to skip to a lower figure. A lower figure has a very curvy hip, and if you've ever had the experience of buying a pair of pants where it fits across the hip and the seat, but it's totally gaping around the waist, this might be your section. Now, we're going to see on the hip to waist measurement, it's going to be 1.25 or greater, and the waist to hip measurement is going to be 0.75 or less. Some of the examples of celebrities that we could see this in are Michelle Obama and Jennifer Lopez. Now, if you have the characteristics of both the upper figure and the lower figure, then you're going to be an hourglass. You're going to see no more than around a 2-inch difference between your bust and your hip line, and you're going to at least have a 9-inch difference between either of those measurements and your waist. Your waist is significantly smaller. Some example celebrities that have the hourglass aesthetic would be Christina Hendricks and Sofia Vergara from Modern Family. Our final 2 body types actually share a lot of similarities in ratios but look completely different on the figure. That's the middle figure and the linear figure. Now, both of these body types, you're going to note that there isn't as much differentiation in the waist. So the bust to waist measurement is going to be no more than 120%. And the waist to bust measurement is going to be greater than 80%. Same with the hip, it's going to be 120 or less and 80% or more. And what you're seeing here is just you don't have that naturally dent into the waist. With a linear figure, it's going to look very lean, angular, and somewhat boyish. With a middle figure, it's going to look soft, more rounded, a little more curvaceous. And some of the examples of a middle figure in our celebrity crowd would be Kelly Clarkson and Adele. On the linear side, we have Natalie Portman and Cameron Diaz. This is a definitive foolproof way to diagnose your body type. So find your measurements, calculate your ratios, and if you're struggling with the math at all, look in the description for a link to some helpful tools. Then once you know your body type diagnosis, watch the rest of the series to figure out how to dress your body type. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel.